how chilled out do you want your Sunday morning? That's the Ludlows and James Horner. It's the instrumental from the movie Legends of the Fall. Now will bring you gently back out of your steady slumber into the real world of Sunday morning and the newspapers and news stories. And Ed Allen and Mal, we're going to talk about Twitter. It's all over the papers. Mal, do you want to pick up?
Yes, it is. It's all over the papers. As you say, Observer has Twitter clamps down on abuse. It's covered in the Times as well and the Telegraph. It's really a case of anti-social networking, this. It's trolls who hide behind supposed anonymity on the internet to post threatening, deeply unpleasant messages, particularly to women. And I think it brings up the whole discussion of what freedom of expression means in a democracy. You know, it's always balanced and subject to the rule of law.
Are you on Twitter, Mal?
I am, yes.
How many followers do you have?
About 6,500. Not that many, really.
Yeah.
There are people with millions.
And are people nasty to you?
Sometimes, yes. And I choose to either block them or just ignore them.
And what about you, Ed?
I'm not on Twitter, no.
And what do you think of this?
I don't know. I've never really understood it, actually, to be honest with you. I think it's a case of opening the book too wide. I don't understand why people want to sort of talk about what they do all day. I think it gets in the way of kind of living in a way. Do you know what I mean? I think it's
quite interesting. I was talking to, just a name drop for a second, because why not, to Michael Douglas, the actor. Yeah. And he said...
As you do.
Well, I was the job, you know. Yeah. And as we were saying in Cannes, he said that Twitter's completely changed the life of the celebrity, because they now need it as an advance guard. So a story is about to come out about them that they might not want to come out, and they then use it to preempt that story, to give their side of events first. So if he says, from a celebrity point of view, it's super useful. But I'm on Twitter a little bit. I actually don't particularly like doing it.
But what do you? I mean, is it work related?
Yeah.
So you don't sit and talk about you've made a cup of tea at home, or you're sitting watching a film.
I don't. I mean, well, who's interested in that? And also mine's a BBC one, so it goes to sort of everything I put goes onto a BBC website. So it does sort of that's against the spirit of Twitter. But it is extraordinary what people just write in just flippantly, and if it's a rude comment, and I've had one or two, I always sort of think, I wonder who this bloke is or this woman is. Actually, it's always a bloke. And they've always got about 24 followers and done about 40,000 tweets.
Yeah, it's quite sad. It's quite sad.
Well, it's just furious. There's an anger there. There's a sort of something an unfulfilled ability to express their opinion. But it is odd that people want to use its social network, it doesn't matter if it's Twitter or Facebook or any of this, and business, to be mean.
It is, and yet on the flip side of that, I'm not excusing that behaviour, but or rationalising it away, but on the other side of it is, will you have a public platform through which to present views? Most people don't have that, and many people, not me personally, but many people seem to resent that, and therefore air their views on things like Twitter. But of course, there do need to be tighter regulations about what the laws that exist at the moment about slander and against threats need to be applied to social media, and we haven't seen that enough yet.
But the trouble with Twitter, and the trouble with a world in which we communicate in 140 characters, is all sense of context is lost.
Nuance is gone.
Yeah. So, for example, I got a stream of quite abusive Twitter texts on Friday night, having hosted a Radio 2 show which was live. We had lots of live performers, and one of the performers was a terrific chap called Dan Skinner, who has this character called Angelos, who's been on Shooting Stars, and is a funny character. And I said to him, and he told me that he's got this show up in Edinburgh in which he's doing sort of a spoof of a northern comedian. So I said, well, who likes somebody like Les Dawson? He said, yeah, maybe. And I said, or is it more sort of Bernard Manning? And he said, well, maybe neither, or something a bit in between, or whatever. And that was all I said. And then I got all this abuse about, how can you say Bernard Manning and Les Dawson are the same sort of character? And I was just asking this guy questions.
That didn't bother me when you just said that.
No, but this is from some of the Les Dawson fans, but it was a suggestion that I was coupling Les Dawson and Bernard Manning as the same person, as the same style. All they were was northern comedians. I was fishing with Dan to find out who he was trying to encapsulate, what the character was from whom he was drawing. But all that goes. And so once somebody says, Gompert says that Dawson's like Manning, then you get all end of,
it's
ridiculous. You see what I mean? And it just rolls and rolls and rolls on completely the wrong track, the wrong thread. And that's the danger of Twitter, because then nobody goes back to check the source.
Well, sometimes the social media community does correct things. In other words, if you say something abusive, you might find yourself bombarded, as some people have this week who've given threatening tweets. They've been bombarded with messages from other Twitter users sticking up for the person they were threatening. And so, in a sense, there's a self-regulating element, but it's not enough to protect from these sort of what we call trolls, these people that abuse the privilege. But you can't really legislate respect and courtesy, sadly. And I think the big problem is people assume they're anonymous on social networking, and in fact they're not.
Yeah, but you are also a futurologist, Mal, and a reader of the runes of contemporary culture. Where does this run to? Where does this need for social networking and this sort of discussion without knowing people, and this voicing of opinions, sort of good or bad or ugly? Where does this end? Is Twitter here forever, or is it a flash in the pan?
Well, I think social networking generally, like Twitter, is going through a boom period that will eventually even out as people again discover that online networking is really only an adjunct to personal contact, that it really only works as an adjunct to personal contact. So you can't really have 5,000 friends on Facebook.
Do you follow anybody on Twitter?
Yes, I do. I follow about probably 90 people. And
do you actually look at that Twitter stream coming through?
I do selectively. And you can list, of course, you can select which people you want to list as frequent, people you want to look at frequently.
And Ed, you're a writer. Why don't you do Twitter?
I just, I'm not on Facebook. I don't do Twitter. Personally, I don't really feel the need to do it. You know, I'm a real technophobe anyway. You know, so and also where I live now, I get absolutely no reception on my phone. So I'd have to wander around the village.
You need just a rural broadband.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't know. I just think I think the idea of sitting down and actually writing about my day. Or, you know, I just, I wouldn't do it, to be honest with you.
And do you do it for promotional reasons, Mal?
I do it to be part of the conversation. So as a social commentator, which is my other role, I want to be part of the conversation on issues and debates. And so I want to add value to people. I don't want to tell them about what I'm doing for breakfast. That's the celebrity use of Twitter. But it's not necessarily the way sensible people use it. A lot of authors use it to talk about ideas. I find that stimulating and interesting. So it has a good side, but here we're seeing the anti-social networking side.